Good morning, my friends. I'm so fired up this morning. I have just been praising God and this universe for the fact that I wake up before my alarm every single day, energized and on fire. And I've been eating to condition that, because what you eat before bed in those hours after noon, which if you're like me, you used to splurge and go reaching for I used to work in high tech and we had M&Ms and all kinds of sweet treats, but M&Ms were my go-to, and just put them into a little cup, roll over to my desk and eat and indulge and sugar up, and then have whatever I like for dinner, usually crashing across the finish line of the day. Whew! Thank goodness I've learned you don't have to live that way. Newsflash. So, have just been astounded at this cancer journey, and I'm so grateful for those of you who are on it with me and willing to sit in the mess, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that your mess will become your masterpiece. I also know it is discouraging and we get pulled off course. Yesterday was a day where I was really pulled off course, yet I turned that into a success story. And I'm going to share it with you because I just got off the call with a coaching client who is typically my favorite client that we meet on Wednesdays. And this week she had to reschedule. And so we met today. And dang, this session was fire. At the end of a high performance coaching session, we focus on what we love, what energizes us, what lifts us up. And I said, we had just covered the persuasion formula. We'd covered the influence model, which we did in our first sessions together. And so today we were focused on the topic of challenge. Yet what ended up happening is we got into ambition. I was like, let's weave these threads. I want you to pull out the ambition formula, or the persuasion formula. I want you to pull out your notes on influence. And I'm going to email these to you in a follow-up and put together this assignment. And she left fired up because she's facing a challenge where there's a lot of people, a lot of chefs in the kitchen trying to control the outcome that she's working towards. Yet what was beautiful is the intersectionality of our personal and professional lives, that I got to hear a little bit about her personal life. And she asked about this really difficult thing that happened with Gigi yesterday. So for those of you who've watched, yesterday I was in full tears and pleading, like, please, let's shine love and light into this world, my friends. Sit down and talk to your children. Know their hearts. They're not telling you everything. You want to know why? Because they know you're busy. Because they know that that you're distracted and you're on your device most of the time. Let's own it. That's our world. And we have to claim that time back and create some boundaries between our personal and professional lives, right? A lot of you are like me. Your badassery takes over and becomes center stage. And before you know it, work is running the show, right? And so, I think that's problem one. Problem two that I hear kids say is like, my parents don't listen. Well, that's not true, right? I know that their parents are listening, but what's really happening is their parents aren't hearing, they're not responding. And so we need to do better in that space. So as I was sharing, the coaching session opened with her just heartfelt, loving. I can't even imagine what it's like to send your kid to school in full on tears. Literally, she couldn't get out the first time. I had to pull up in the drop-off line. And then she's like, I can't do it, Mom, I can't. And I mean, she's using the sleeves of my Cambridge sweatshirt, wiping her tears. And I said, sweetheart, I'm going to pull over and I'm going to tell that, I'm going to drive right up to that principal right now who's out here directing traffic. And I'm going to say, look at what your school is doing to my child. And she was like, no, Mom, it'll only make it worse. I'll have to go talk to the counselor. And I thought, isn't that the truth, right? That the victim ends up the one in the counselor's office, not the person who's calling her. So for those of you up to speed, her biggest thing was that she was being bullied and being called the N-word. And then I told her, I will drop you off and you can endure the day. I trust you. I love you. You're stronger than you think. You will get through this. I shared, one of the first things they tell you when you get diagnosed with breast cancer is they start building your identity as a survivor. Why? Because you're going to get through this moment, and our human spirit needs to know that. They use these words with intention. And honey, you need to know that this moment isn't forever, that middle school is just a really hard chapter of life. And she said, Mom, I know this isn't helping, right? And I was like, okay, it's the self-limitless motivational speaker, high performance coach, get in there. And that's not helpful to her in this moment. And so I said, sweetheart, I see your pain and I'm hurting for you right now. What can I do to help? Nothing, right? At 12, she doesn't know. To be truthful, I left after drop off and I didn't know what I needed either, even though I'm much older than 12. Right? And so I think sometimes we expect our kids to know. So to fast forward through the story, anyhow, I come home crying. You can watch kind of what transpired yesterday. I tried to be very vulnerable and very alive because I think it's important that we honor and embrace. I know it's important that we honor and embrace our personal and our professional selves. When we hold these things in, what I do know from my cancer journey is that energy becomes toxic and can change your cellular expression. So please let it out of you. Find a coach, find somebody to talk to, a best friend even. These are the kinds of conversations that best friends are really good at. However, listen to this. So I get home, I decide I'm gonna hop on my Peloton. I'm not getting off until these emotions pass. Well, 100 minutes in, my butt hurt, my legs hurt, and I was like, you might not be able to walk today if you're gonna wait until these emotions pass. What I would have normally done after that, this is where true power comes. What I would have normally done is I would have called I've called them my Black family. Truth be told, they're not related to me in any way. Gigi's dad left us when I was pregnant, and so we don't have Black family in the traditional sense of the word. I have a self-selected Black family who I love and I'm grateful for, and they are strong, badass powerhouses in this world. And I would have called them and I would have shared in the experience and the frustration, and we would have gotten all fired up. And instead, I called a country neighbor friend who I don't even know how to describe the difference of that experience, right? He didn't know what to say. He had never experienced that before in his life. So instead of my Black family who's known it and lived it and we get into the weeds of it, all I got was really, I am so sorry you're going through this. And I was like, that's all you got? Like, I kind of need, like what I get from my Black family is like this educational unit on systemic injustice and the challenges of the world. And here's how we endure that as strong Black people. And I just got, I'm really sorry that you're going through this. It is, I can't even imagine. It was this empathetic, loving, compassionate response. It was so emotional, I actually didn't know what to do with the feelings, right? It's easier to just manage the knowledge and construct an action plan. Yet I just leaned into the feelings. We got off the phone, and later I realized the importance of that, right? To get out of what's comfortable and respond in the ways that are better aligned with what you want to be. If I had chosen to do that, yeah, we'd all feel good, right? I would feel good. They would feel good that they helped me. However, what I had done in those moments is spread that toxicity, empowered that evil. And instead, I received love. And that person said, focus on God's love right now and see it in me and start to see it in others. And it was more of like a preachy command. And I kind of do well with that because I was raised in a family of tough love with a bunch of Irish German people and British who are just on point with their words. And so I really responded well to that. Well, fast forward, I text, at this point now I've worked through the pissed off part. I'm still very emotionally charged. And I decide I'm going to text Gigi. Like now we're maybe only 20 minutes in on the Peloton and I'm kind of working through things. And I just texted her and said, I love you so much, sweetheart. I want you to know you're stronger than this. You're stronger than you think. And we are strong together. I've got you. If you need me to kick ass or come and pick you up today, you call me and let me know. I'll be there in a heartbeat. And then I was like, I probably shouldn't say I'm going to kick a kid's ass on a text while my daughter's at school. I probably really shouldn't say that ever, right? If I'm being honest. I should never say those words, but in the heat of it, right? You're like, oh, Mama Bear is alive right now. So I was like, delete, delete, delete. If you need me to come pick you up at any time today, honey, if it gets too hard and you think you can't handle anymore, I'm here for you. So as I ended this, I had shared this with my coaching client, and as I ended my session with her, and I said, what did you love about your session today? I often write that part down, so I'm going to read this. She said, I'm excited to get to work. The idea that people, you specifically, gives me hope for the future when people become more aware of how they communicate with their children. And she went into something personal that I won't share. But she said, the future of our world is dependent on these kids. And it's inspiring to see people teaching kids how to think. So here's what we did yesterday. I told Gigi, I walk into the building, right? I check in and ask for her to be sent down. And as she comes down, I said, do you have everything? Because she often leaves her instrument in the orchestra room, which, you know, should be practicing all weekend. Yes, she should, but she used to do that. Now she's got a horse and she loves that more. I don't know. So, and she says, you know what, Mom, I'm not going to play in the symphony someday. I'm going to perform in the Olympics. And I said, way to prioritize, man. That's great prioritization, right? And I think we can all use a dose of that. Like, instead of beating ourselves up for what we're not doing, how about we celebrate that we're prioritizing the right things? And so I said, why don't you go get your instrument? And she looked at me funny and she went off to go get it. And then she comes back and I said, as we walked out the doors of the school, I said, I want you to take a peek back over your shoulder. You never have to walk into that building ever again if you don't want to. And as we walked out to the car, she told me what had happened. And she said that this kid called her an effing N-word. And she could barely get the words out. She wouldn't even say it. And she said, what's really sad, Mommy, is that the kids have asked me how I feel about that word. And I told them I don't use it. And so it was really hurtful to her. And as we're driving down the road, and she said, really, I never have to go back there? I said, never again. And I was scared because we've met some of the families that are a little more privileged than we are, have their kids homeschooled. And one does in-office schooling. She owns a dental practice and her kids go to work with her. And their programs are phenomenal. These kids are off the chain phenomenal. I'm an educator, right? I'm a connoisseur and critic of our educational system. Have 4 degrees in the subject, have advised the White House and Gates Foundation and led major innovation initiatives for education. I've never seen anything like these kids that are homeschooled. They have command of their schedule. They're personally responsible for their days. They design, literally, like I'm taking web design, I'm taking this, I'm doing that. And it is just amazing listening to these kids talk. And I thought, okay, I've been scared. Gigi's wanted to do that for a long time. And in all honesty, as a working professional, when you're at that executive level and the stakes are high and you're busy, the thought of educating your child in addition to your workload is a lot. The thought of educating your child in addition to 5 acres and managing ducks and horses and dogs is a lot. The thought of navigating cancer and building my business feels like a lot. The thought of managing middle school mood swings 24/7. Now that's where a lot really sets me over the edge and I'm like, nope, go to school. But it was so fascinating to share this story with my coaching client and for her to say, like, wow, that inspires me. Because what it teaches me is that none of us have to tolerate really awful circumstances in our lives. It might be in your marriage. It might be your children's behavior. It might be in the office. I've heard so many stories. Listen to this. This was exact words from a different conversation. Hang on, I'm gonna have to scroll to a different document. This old crotchety German man, super smart, yet not terribly politically appreciated, said, and then inserted. Or here's another one. I've started to kind of these are themes happening in the workplace. I'm getting a new boss. He's known for being an arrogant a-hole. So life's gonna suck. And I'm like, why do we tolerate these behaviors? Why do we allow for that to happen? And then get this. So Monday night, I come home from my oncology appointment and I am drained, right? I got no new news. We didn't have my oncotype results back. I was told, like, there's multiple forms of chemo. My whole journey ever since diagnosis, I was told, you're going to need chemo. This is an aggressive high growth tumor. We're going to really need to, all these things. And I got fierce. I was like, oh, you don't even know what kind of champion's inside of me, man. I have fought before and I got a little bit of a fierce fighter inside. I read 4 books Monday night on preventing cancer naturally. So I was like, I am not your average patient, man. I'm in it to win it. You know what I mean? I love ludicrous. All I do is win. I was pumping myself up. I got all in to that winner mindset. And however, before I got there, I was in this emotional trench of, oh my gosh, like the things she shared had freaked me out. I didn't know there was lots of types of chemo. Like to inject your ovaries to induce early menopause and then later a less aggressive form of chemo was one path. The other path was insane load of chemo that will kill everything. It will destroy you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I watched this show called Harlem. And at the beginning, it says, being a woman in total control is not always easy. We not only survive, but thrive with a tribe of unbreakable sisters. Ooh, that gives me chills. That's my right leg chills right there. I see you, universe. It is so cool. Like this little thing that's going on right now between me and God and communication is amazing. And so I'm glad you kind of get to experience that with me because it freaks me out. It's a little weird. And it hasn't happened up until started happening last year in February. So I'm kind of at my 1-year anniversary relationship, learning this stuff. Then they said, we have to move faster, further, better to barely keep up. Change is everywhere you look, and it is becoming increasingly hard to hang on to who you are. At some point, you begrudgingly accept things aren't the way they thought you'd be. Ooh, don't you ever begrudgingly accept the way things aren't, the way that things are, and they're not how you wanted it to be. You just become agile. You pivot. You take an empowered pivot. You say, okay, that part didn't work out. One thing I know for sure, there's been a lot of doors that have closed in my journey, and they always, another door opened that was better. I recently heard this sermon that said, God will never take anything from you and give you something inferior in return. And I thought, wow, it was spoken by like a powerful prophetic Black man. And I thought, that's how, I just love that strength in someone's speech. And I wrote those words down. That's why I know them so well. And I was like, dang, that's true. Whether you want to believe in God or not, whether you can get down with that. I know a lot of people who religion's kind of like, eh. And I told Gigi's barber that. I said, I really don't like religion. I think it's done more harm than good. It's done more to destroy and damage the world. And she said, think of it like relationship. So some of you might need to hear that because I needed to. And to recognize it's a relationship. Connect yourself every day to the divine. Connect yourself every day to abundance. Your life will change. So I'm not saying connect yourself to religious persecution, religious ignorance, be like a sheep. Like, I'm not saying that. I am saying connect yourself to the divine, be in relationship. That is a power unlike anything I've ever experienced. And then this, after they talked about begrudgingly accepting that things aren't the way you thought, they said at that moment you have two options. And I couldn't keep up with writing down the script that they were operating from. But basically the option was to simply begrudgingly accept that this is how it has to be. I've heard people say, I've got to stay in this job for 5 years. Why? Why the hell are you making that up? 5 years? You know who I'm talking about. Talking to you, girl. I'm not going to say her name, but I heard that and I thought, why? Why are you making that up? Yet conversely, I spoke to another woman who had been in a job she couldn't stand for 4 months. And she said, oh, I don't know if I should apply for this other job because I've only been here 4 months. And I said, what's the worst that can happen? You're in the job you don't like? Let's instead ask a different question. What if the best outcome you can imagine is on the other side of this application? Boom! She applied. We prayed, we prayed, we prayed. I told her my favorite thing in that moment is to practice high intensity, low attachment. You can't be insane intensity and excitement and then the letdown. I've had enough lessons of men doing that to me that I know better. And so that insane excitement and intensity with detachment is a beautiful strategy for when you really want something. Go full throttle with your energy. Burn rubber, baby. Get yourself behind a Porsche and burn some rubber down that path. Give it all you've got. That way, whatever happens, you know you were all in. And know that it's that or something better is your only outcome, right? That you're working towards the goal you think or trusting that there's something better that this world has for you, that God, abundance, whatever you want to call it, source, that there's something else in greater control and that maybe that something else is often better. Like I know that something else led me to a way better place that I would have never imagined I got to live here. So I think that's interesting. So I wrote down, reassess and hold on to your dreams. Refuse to settle. And that's what I taught Gigi when we walked out of that building yesterday. And I said, honey, if you never want to go back into that place, you don't have to. You do not have to go and experience that degree of bullying and hatred. And then things got worse. So when you start hearing your kid's heart, they start talking a little more. And she said, Mom, you want to know the worst part? And I said, what, sweetheart? And she said, am I a burden? I said, honey, you may be a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes, and this middle school stuff's difficult, but you are never a burden. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. You have taught me how to be a better human being. You taught me feelings. Like, I got really emotional. I would fall in love with things with this passion that she brought into my life. And I said, and you've helped me quadruple my income. You've helped inspire that fuel. The things you see that you think are awesome in me, they came because of you. So don't you ever think you're a burden. And I said, what makes you ask that? And she said, the kids at school said I'm a burden and that I should kill myself. Douglas County has some of the highest teen suicide rates in the state of Colorado. And I don't know where you're viewing this from, but teen suicide is very real in our world, and it breaks my heart. As an educator and someone who loves kids, I love kids more than anything. It's just training leaders and working across the globe. That built the dream. My heart has always been with kids. My favorite part of working with leaders is hearing about their families, hearing about people who their first road trip with a Tesla, they didn't think about how often they'd have to stop to recharge, and they had to come up with games to play with their kids to pass the time. My favorite story, person who played baseball, his son loved baseball, and he made out of pizza lid boxes. They had stopped at a pizzeria, got some pizza, went to recharge, and then they tore it apart and made a baseball diamond out of the box parts. How cool is that, right? Those are my favorite moments. Yes, and being a rock star in your career matters too, right? What I loved about this coaching session today is we talked about the persuasion formula. We talked about the stakes are high. Everybody's got competing interests. How are you going to persuade towards the vision that you're carrying? How are you going to craft that vision if you don't have it yet? She's like, it's not fully baked. I'm like, okay, well, let's go back then. Let's go back to this specific strategy and let's layer these. And now she has 3 worksheets, 3 frameworks to map through to communicate clearly her vision to her team. I said, I want you to teach them the persuasion formula. Give them that gift of career growth, right? That's how all of our personal and professional lives weave together. Because through my story with Gigi, she was empowered to change outcomes in her office. That's what matters, friends. That we are that tribe of sisterhood. That's why Warrior Wednesday exists. And it's not only for the sisters, right? I love my brothers too. This is why it's called Warrior Women's Society. The research on the skills and dispositions we need to succeed in the future are categorized as feminine. So I want you to hear me clearly on this part. We all have masculine and feminine traits within us. God knows I'm tired of being the man of the house, right? The masculine traits are a little bit more of an adjustment for me, but dang, I use them every day, right? And men, I know a lot of men who use feminine traits that we're going to talk about every day too. One's not better than the other. Both are required of each and every one of us, regardless of how you identify. You may be non-binary and be like, girl, speak. Yes, let's finally blur the lines, right? So whether you're masculine, feminine, non-binary, I don't care what you are. What we're going to do is talk traits, right? And these traits, according to this research, they had 60,000 research participants. The first half, they sorted them masculine, feminine, or neutral. The second body of research participants took that same list and said, what do we need to be successful in the future? These were the top traits. Patient. That was associated with feminine. These are the top traits associated with femininity and top traits overall. Passionate, empathetic, selfless. How often do we go, my selfish desire yesterday was to kick someone's, right? Yet a selfless perspective was, I need to do some things right now to be the best mom I can be when my daughter comes home. And I need to make sure that that narrative isn't negative for her to replay in her mind over and over again, that instead it empowers her. And that I listened, that I empowered her, and that instead of fear and that conversation with self-doubt, with imposter syndrome, with insecurity, I know that conversation well. I've had it many times. That doesn't have a seat at the table anymore. And I was told a powerful thing from a Christian friend who said, fear is sin. I was like, whoo, way to preach that one, right? Like, imagine fear as something you're not allowed to do, right? With cancer, there are certain things I can't put in my body. Sugar multiplies cancer cells. Sugar weakens the immune system. I need to be strong. No sugar, period. I don't ask questions about that. I have a high growth, aggressive tumor that if they can't get that cleared, can translate to other parts of the body, which equals death, my friends. So to me, I don't have a conversation with sugar anymore. I used to love sugar. Don't love it anymore. Nothing tastes as good as cancer-free, I'll tell you. So long story short, it is so important to recognize you can practice that level of wisdom and say no. The power of the words I don't, incredibly effective. Write down, I don't blank. It's 8 times more effective as I can't, and 3 times more effective than I won't. So there's some research for you, dropping it like it's hot. I don't blank. See, it's important for us to be learners. Okay, let's get back. Speaking of research, we had selfless, very different than selfish, apologize, and empathetic. Here's the other next list in that feminine quadrant, next on my row of notes. Intuitive, flexible, expressive, loyal, reasonable, collaborative, plans for the future, right? Those are traits that we need to be cultivating. And I'm here to say, let's cultivate them in community. We learn more, we accelerate our achievement. The trajectory of our lives truly takes, if you make a behavior over time graph, remember average success, so you can go back and look at that. It's the one that's got the Pee Wee and the Pro playbook video, or high performance career growth, high performance growth in whatever it is your goal is. There's a different playbook, my friends. Quit bringing your Pee Wee playbook to life. Get a professional playbook. Train yourself. Whatever it is that you want to train and learn, start learning. Take that empowered stance. Right now, we're going to be spending a large part of the weekend. Gigi's out cleaning the barn, and you want to know what comes after that? Figuring out her school schedule. Getting her enrolled in different programs that build towards her wildest dreams. So with that, we've went on for a longer time than I was planning on today. I've got to get out there and get to work, start getting these muscles back in action as this tissue's all healed up. Oh, no more cording. My chest feels so good. I'm so excited. I do still have, for those of you still with us, this is disgusting. My hairy armpit that hasn't been shaved in this whole time. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That is all that I've got left. Just a little scar. And you know what? You can massage your scars and help them heal. And as you do that, you just speak the best words possible. When I don't know what to say, I just say, I am healing. I am healed. I am healing. I am healed. So this goes for the loved ones I know who are battling right now. And maybe that instead of a battle, we invite compassionate cancer, compassionate health into our lives. And truly just, I feel bad. I'm like, here I am still doing it. I'm like, why are you still, I can see why are you still doing that? You know why? It feels good. It feels good to nurture yourself and to practice self-care. And you really can't get to that next level without it. I learned that as I leveled up. High performance physiology changed the game for me. So it is my honor to share these stories with you. I love hearing how they inspire your life in both personal and professional domains. Those lines are blurred. They got blurred during COVID. They probably were blurred all along, and I was just taught, keep your personal and professional life separate. And so I did. I'm a high achiever. I'm a people pleaser. I love to perform. So when I get a rule book, I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I did that for a little while. Turns out it wasn't serving me. Those lines are blurred. The strength I give my daughter comes from a lot of my professional strength and my growth. And the strength that I gain in my cancer journey comes from the lessons I learned becoming a leader and training people in positive psychology and neuroscience and systems thinking and habits of mind and high performance. Those bodies of research. If you're wondering what to do, you can enroll in my course, Life Design Lab. I think this morning I had a vision to call it Divine Design or Designed with the Divine, something like that. I'd have to open up my notebook. And I was like, maybe this just needs a renaming, because Life Design Lab has meaning to me. It means you're the designer of your life. You get to make it as beautifully designed as you'd like. And it's a laboratory. It's never going to be perfect. It's experimental, right? You play with concepts and research, and then you document how they made you feel. And you go, oh, that one worked and that one didn't. And by document, it could just be awareness, right? It could be, I noticed this feels good and this doesn't. And so that's Life Design Lab. If you want a course where it's all jam-packed, 20 years of research all into one place that can be consumed in less than 5 hours, boom, that's your spot, right? I made it short and sweet. 8 modules, under 40 minutes each. My longest one is 40 minutes. So that's super simple. You can join Warrior Women's Society. We're going to kick off on February 15th. That's this coming Wednesday, 12 to 1 Mountain. If you want to enroll in that, you can do that. And coaching. Coaching is my passion. I love it. I'm trying to get a group coaching session off the ground for those who are unable to afford one-on-one sessions. So if you have a friend, I have no one interested in group coaching so far. Everyone goes one-on-one. I know that there are people who want to do a group. So let's get that party started, my friends. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, you better get a song, get moving. It's your Saturday, people. Let's go. Even my dog's like, oh boy. He can barely handle it. He's like full yawn. All right, it's time to go. Branson, you ready to go to the barn? You ready to go to the barn? All right, we're heading off to the barn. Wishing you a joy-filled, meaningful weekend with your family, with your loved ones. Recharge and prepare for the most extraordinary event to happen in this week ahead as you recharge your batteries and navigate for the work that lies ahead. But don't forget, as I'm saying that, I'm like, why do we cater our directionality to work so much, right? Let's spend time this weekend being fully present with the ones we love. How about that idea? Mwah! Go out and shine your brilliance into the world, my friends. I love you so much.